My name is Adrian Caton, and today I will be looking into the Perilous attacks mechanic inside of Sekiro. So from pretty early on in the game, you're introduced to the enemies that will use all different kinds of Perilous attacks. These attacks are unblockable, and so you can't just like hold down the block button and expect that the damage not hit you. Um, Instead, you're going to have to counter each one of the Perilous attacks by playing some sort of rock, paper, scissors game. And you do that by reading the opponent's body language and also the icon on the screen. The first Perilous attack I want to talk to you guys about are thrust attacks. These are countered by deflecting the attack with a well-timed block, so the player will not be able to hold the block button down. Instead, the parry has to be perfect. Another way thrust attacks can be countered, as you're seeing here, is by unlocking a skill called the Mikiri counter, which allows the player to leave the opponent more vulnerable to devastating blows. The player performs this move by dodging towards the thrusting enemy. Many of these attacks can be seen coming. Usually the enemies charge up the attack and it looks like they're going to thrust a blade towards the player. By also reading the animations and the body language of the enemy, the player can react in time. But since there's many enemies in this game and they all have varying animations and they all look super different, the developers did not want to force the player to rely only on the reading skills. They also wanted to include the red symbol on the screen to warn the player of an incoming perilous attack. The next two attacks are pretty straightforward and they each have their own gimmicks, but each perilous attack has a red symbol to warn the player of an incoming unblockable attack. Sweep attacks. The player counters sweep attacks by jumping to dodge the initial attack, and then quickly jumping again to jump on and off the enemy's head. Avoiding this and properly countering it will leave the enemy vulnerable and damage their posture as well. Grab attacks are countered by dodging to the side. Like other perilous attacks, these can't be blocked, deflected, and this one cannot be jumped over. Dodging will often leave the enemy exposed to a couple of free hits. The perilous attack system really goes to show that rock, paper, scissors combat, if it's implemented well, can be quite exciting in combat games. The combination of animations, heads-up player alert icons, and varying timing from different enemies of these three attacks will all work together in such a fascinating way. I know that Sekiro's combat system is much more in depth than this, with the health bar and the vitality and the posture bar, and blocking and deflecting. But these perilous attacks also add a new level of difficulty and a new level of challenge for the player that will ultimately tie into one great combat system.